What's up, guys? The very first iPhone 8 schematic may have leaked, and we interpreted it into this design. So I wanted to share that with you today before getting into the latest iPhone 8 rumors and leaks, which there have been quite a bit of. So on the front, we've got a massive display. We do have the curved teardrop-like design around the edges, but it's not quite as exotic as previously anticipated. So it's still a squared design on the front of the phone. No curved edge display, unfortunately. It does have the iris sensors in the front, and on the back, it looks actually kind of cool, a vertical dual lens camera for the iPhone edition. So basically taking the 7 Plus camera and shifting it vertically. It's unknown what advantages this may have, but supposedly that's what the schematic does support. Also on the back, we do have a smart connector. Of course, this is far from guaranteed or confirmed, but I just wanted to interpret that into a real world design for you. So guys, let's talk about the latest in iPhone 8 leaks. First off, this schematic, it was reported that a Foxconn employee with his dying breath found in a pool of blood drew this schematic out with his very own blood. Not really, guys, but take a look at this. I mean, would you trust this? I don't know. It just seems a little sketchy, but supposedly a Foxconn employee did have a hands-on look at the prototype of the iPhone 8. I mean, which one? They're testing so many, we know that. But supposedly he did give us this schematic from it, and then this one was born. So this one, it's stamped right in the middle of it that this is purely fictional. It's just based off of this guy's schematic that he scribbled, just a little bit more professional version of it. And from this, we basically made our design. I would honestly be a little disappointed if this was it, because I was expecting the iPhone edition or iPhone 8 to have those curved edges like the Samsung Galaxy S8, and it would really put it behind if it didn't. I mean, it's just so good looking. I want the iPhone to have something like that. Maybe not copy Samsung completely, but at least do something like that. So squared should be gone. The curved is in. It's the design trend nowadays. And he actually did have a couple things to say about the design before he died in his own pool of blood. But he said that the antenna bands would be on the corners of the phone, much like the iPhone 4 and 4S series. I'm not sure why I'm holding a Galaxy showing you guys. He said it would have a curve on the side, very similar to the Apple Watch. So again, confirming that teardrop-like design. He did say it would have vertical cameras on the rear, which I think looks interesting. I'm not sure if I like it, but it doesn't look bad, I'd say. Also that it would have 3D sensing cameras in the front and back of the phone and would be heavily focused on virtual reality. And related to these leaked schematics, this is from iDrop News and Vanya Geskin. So these guys basically took their own interpretations of this schematic and turned it into these designs. Gotta say, they do look good. It's very interesting if Apple went into this design language with the vertical cameras, that's for sure. Anyways, we have learned some features and specs coming from a Cohen and Company analyst who's reporting. He's saying that the 7S and 7S Plus will still be releasing alongside the iPhone edition. And yes, we did talk about that in the last video. They might be called the iPhone, just like the budget end of the lineup, but the iPhone edition will still be launching alongside them. Now, what he's saying is that the iPhone edition is going to start at 64 gigabytes and jump straight to 256. There will be no middle ground there at 128, as Apple wants to force people to jump to 256 right away. They make way more money with that 100 something dollar price difference. But anyways, he's also saying that it will have extended battery life with a 2-pack battery. He didn't elaborate on that, but what it's probably meaning is that the L-shaped battery I reported on a long time ago is going to be happening. And that one is supposedly going to have 2 cells. So it'll be 2 cells that are going to be stacked somewhat in an L-shaped, and essentially you're going to get more battery life out of a smaller shaped phone, which is awesome. So he is basically confirming them. The iPhone 7S and 7S Plus, he's saying, will still come in the 32, 128, and 256 gigabyte configurations. He did also confirm that all 3 models releasing later this year will have 3 gigabytes of RAM. By the way, this is the lineup just to keep you guys updated. I want to give you guys a little snapshot every single time. We've got the iPhone, basically 7S and 7S Plus, just speed bumped versions, and we do have the iPhone edition. So based on the leaked schematics, I'm going to update that design to this. Although it may not look like this is just the best idea we have right now of what it may look like. Anyways, he's also saying it will have fast charging standard on all of them via Lightning. So he did also confirm Lightning is here to stay. USB-C probably won't be happening in the actual iPhone, but the end piece of the USB in the box will have USB-C to conform to these standards in some European nations. So it'll still be Lightning, but they will all have 3 gigabytes of RAM and fast charging. So a big disappointment for a lot of people about the Galaxy S8 was the home button, well, the fingerprint sensor. They stuck it onto the back of the phone. It's not an ideal solution. It would have been much better to implement it into the display, and as we know, Apple's trying to do that very hard with the iPhone 8, but they are experiencing problems. So from the same analyst, he's saying that the bottleneck on the iPhone 8 project right now is this Touch ID solution. So they're having an issue with the Touch ID, not implementing it, not doing it, not making it happen, but the actual yield rate. So they're not able to produce enough in a timely manner for release, so they're faced with three solutions. One, they can get rid of it completely, just have no fingerprint sensor on the phone and rely on iris or facial recognition with the new 3D sensing technology that we're talking about, but that's a far from ideal solution. I mean, I would rather have a Touch ID fingerprint sensor, because what if you're in the dark and you can't use that technology? It's not safe. Apple Pay would require a Touch ID itself, so that's probably not going to happen. They have another solution where they could put it on the back like the Galaxy S8, and this is also far from ideal. But the analyst claims Apple would do a much better job and place it somewhere more comfortable, maybe on the side, maybe on the back. He didn't really clarify, but something different than the S8, because this one is far from ideal. You really got to stretch to make it happen, and I don't know. I just don't think Apple would end up doing that. He said the third option is that they would delay the launch of the iPhone edition well into the end of 2017. So it would probably be announced alongside the 7S and 7S Plus, but won't get released until weeks later after their launch. So, I would much rather wait, but have a perfect built into the screen solution. I think that would be so awesome, better than this on the back of the phone. He's also saying that Apple has until May to decide. So they do have about 1 month here, a little less than a month to decide which one they're going to go with, most likely pointing to the delayed release. So it's official. Apple is officially partnered with Samsung, as Apple has officially ordered 70 million units of their organic LED panels to be used in the iPhone edition. I would much rather have it be Samsung. This is amazing. They have spent almost a decade on their smartphones perfecting this organic LED technology, and it's just the latest gen technology. The brightness is amazing. The viewing angles are amazing. The efficiency, the color reproduction, this is the best company for Apple to go to for these, except for LG. So that's officially happening, and we're going to be seeing Samsung in our iPhone edition later this year. Not that that's a new thing. Samsung and Apple have had partnerships for parts in the iPhone for as long as I can remember, since the very beginning even, so it's not a bad thing. And some good news for anyone considering buying the iPhone edition later this year. So we talked extensively in the past about how it's going to cost over $1,000, all these crazy technologies that Apple's going to be putting into this that seem to make it so expensive, but when you really think about it, Samsung here can do all of that for $800 starting price, $750 depending on where you get it from, and no problems there. And they're actually not even using their own in-house processor. They're licensing it from Snapdragon. So you would think that Apple could do the same. But now the latest news is saying that the iPhone edition may cost under $1,000, so $999. Anyways, the UBS analyst is saying that, previously we thought it would be more expensive. Now it'll only have a $70 to $90 premium over the iPhone 7S or 7S Plus edition. So that's great news. I mean, it's going to be more affordable for everyone if it doesn't cost over $1,000. Of course, it'll stretch over $1,000 if you do load it up with storage at 256, but the entry point may cost below $1,000, which is great news. Now, this does create a problem. From the same analyst, he basically depicts an issue that Apple is selling their iPhone edition now more expensively than the Samsung Galaxy S8, but it has a smaller display. It's going to have a smaller one at 5.8 inches compared to the massive 6.2 on this guy, and starting 5.8 on the Galaxy S8. But to make up for that, Apple's going to have three things that'll sway over their customers. A huge focus on the 3D sensing camera and higher quality facial recognition than Apple, which will be in 3D sensing technology. Also, the built-in embedded fingerprint sensor in the display, which the Samsung doesn't have. So Apple will fix that problem, and hopefully with these three things, Apple will sway over some S8 users or potential buyers to the iPhone side. Now, a blog from Israel, The Verifier, is claiming that the iPhone launching later this year, the exclusive edition, is going to have a smart connector. Much like the one found on the iPad Pro series, this one will be used for two things mainly. One, for AR and VR experiences. Maybe you'll clip your iPhone into some, VR headset and you'll be able to use it that way. Two, for inductive charging, wireless charging. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. Is Apple not going to include it in the phone but have an external case to use with wireless charging or something like that? But basically that's what he's saying. We have seen this before. The iPhone 7 Plus actually leaked a prototype with this built in, so Apple is certainly capable of doing that. They didn't release it with the 7 or 7 Plus for whatever reason, but this time around they may with the iPhone edition. And some great news for Apple, they might actually be producing their very own GPU for upcoming iPhones, not necessarily the one coming later this year. So their reliance on Imagination Technologies to provide the Power VR GPU in the iPhones is probably going to be waning, as they're going to be developing their own in-house, just like the A series CPUs. You know, since the iPhone 4, Apple has been producing their very own chips, and man, have they gotten far. I mean, the latest one, the A10, is still kicking ass compared to the Samsung Galaxy S8. So imagine their very own GPU. And just like this GPU, Apple will be making its very own power management chip. Now, it's a chip that actually saves energy. So instead of every component of the phone having its very own power management chip, it's a central one that routes power to every component that needs it and is very efficient in the process. So this all is basically saying that Apple doesn't want to have that many third-party companies involved. Where they can produce their very own chips, why have a third-party company there so they can save money on licensing fees and all that, and plus have a possibly better product? I'm excited for it. And about that release date, so analyst Brian White and Economic Daily News are both confirming that it will be happening alongside the 7S and 7S Plus. So all three models will be announced at the same time in September, but the iPhone edition will be launched in very, very small quantities alongside the 7S and 7S Plus, which will probably sell out almost instantly, and the full-scale mass production release will be weeks later, possibly even months. So just want to let you guys know what's going on with the release date. That's everything I know on the iPhone 8. I wanted to share that with you. Hope you guys enjoyed our little concept, and stay tuned for the next one. Peace.